Okay, we're live for second, third, fourth time? But anyhow, my internet skills are apparently lacking these days, so I apologize for anybody who thought that they were going to see this live, because you were mistaken. But welcome now. Hopefully you're seeing this on the back end of everything. And I'm here with author Zachary Chopchinski, author of The Curious Tale of Gabrielle, and thank you for bearing with me this whole entire journey so far.
It's been great, learning things, a lot of, ins and outs and what have yous, but we're getting there.
Yeah, I'm really learning about how much I don't know.
Oh, the internet.
Silly internet, why is it always so rascally?
Full of hijinks and shenanigans.
So many shenanigans. Well, for anybody who watched the small snippet of what I did before, please disregard that. It's going to be deleted very soon. But we'll pick up on the question that we actually got to, which was, what made you fall in love with writing? If you can repeat your answer, we'll check after the program.
And for those in the back row, growing up, my grandmother was a very big part of my life, and she was an English teacher. So like I said earlier, I was kind of predisposed to becoming some sort of a writer. And I grew up in an area called Lorain, Ohio, and that school district every year had a Young Authors Award. And you got to write short stories or poems and submit them, and if they liked it, they'd send it to a local college, and they would publish your work in a little tiny magazine. You got to miss school for an entire day. You went there, you got to meet other authors, you got free food. So I'm like, what? Sign me up. And it kind of just snowballed from there, because then all the glitz and glamour of an author aside, I actually enjoyed the writing. So being a little bit of an introverted child, that was definitely a good outlet for me.
When you say introverted, it's funny to me because I've known you basically mostly through YouTube, I guess, and watching some of your videos that you put out there, and I would say introverted is now not so introverted.
Oh, no. Sometimes you'd think I had a broken should not say that out loud filter. As I grew into my own, and it was, my introversion I think was more out of an insecurity. I was a very tiny kid. I got picked on a lot. But as I kind of grew into my own and learned about my own personality, I am an extrovert to an extreme sense.
So you're one of those people that could be out on the street and performing and get people come over here, I want to make fun of you.
Oh yeah, absolutely, all day long.
So to get a little bit more of a sense about what you write, you have one book out right now.
Yes.
Tell the audience that doesn't know just a little bit about what kind of, I don't know, genre that you're in, or what the book's a little bit about.
Well, the genre, it's funny because as far as genre is concerned, my main focus when I was writing this was to write a timeless piece, something that was going to kind of stand the test of time. I didn't want a lot of modern day references in it. I wanted more of a classic literature kind of a feel as far as my writing style is concerned, because, and it's no disrespect to any authors out there, but I just felt like I wanted my pieces to not follow fashions and trends, kind of different things, vampires, werewolves, zombies, everything kind of goes in and out. I kind of wanted mine just to kind of bridge the middle. But it turns out that this particular book kind of, according to definition from a lot of folks who told me, it falls into kind of the young adult fantasy science fiction. And I'm actually completely okay with that. The book is essentially about a young girl named Gabrielle who essentially gets given a special bracelet and kind of takes her on a very interesting journey. Very curious.
Very curious.
Interesting thing about it, I wrote the book for NaNoWriMo. By the time the month had ended, I had written 55,000 words. The entire time I wrote that, her name was Gabriella. And after I submitted the book and my wife was proofreading it, and I'm telling her, oh, the curious tale of Gabriella, my main character Gabriella, my wife says, you do realize this is how you spell Gabrielle, right? I'm like, oh, So what it is, it's a Curious Tale of Gabrielle. Then that's what I meant in the first place.
Yes, I was just seeing if you were reading it.
Yeah, thank you for paying attention. I appreciate your support.
So I've also heard people say it's kind of a historical fiction.
Yes.
Would you? I mean, I personally just hate genres in the sense that it feels like it bottlenecks somebody's work who could possibly love it more if they just give it a chance. Do you ever feel that way?
Absolutely, and that's one of the reasons. Bridging back to what I was saying, that I wanted a more of a timeless piece. I wanted something that anybody from any walk of life or time frame or their preferences could pick it up and read it and appreciate it. So that's why I tried. It is a bit of a historical fiction in the sense that the journey is through time. It's going to hit the basis of each part of the story is going to be involved in a very particular part of history, different parts of the world. And when they are in that era and that time, it's going to be very historically accurate to the time. So in that definition, it is a historical fiction. But I completely agree. I try not to pigeonhole anything as far as I'm concerned, because you're right. It's like the Hunger Games, for example. I have a bunch of friends that like it, and initially I'm like, it's, you get that post-apocalyptic dystopian strong girl character. Okay, you get Divergent, you've got you've seen one, you've seen them all, but they're actually very good works. But I myself even have judged them just because of it's what's popular.
I mean, I've done the same thing. Well, I mean, the first one I did that with was Twilight, but I actually found out that I was correct. I'm like, yeah, I don't really like it. I mean, I like the movies just fine. It's nothing that starts stretching beyond my imagination or anything. It's like, oh, sparkly vampires. Well, that's different. But beyond that, I can see the whole like I'm a strong woman character and I'm gonna save the world. And by the time I got to Divergent, I felt like this is like on its third leg now. Like we need to start spicing it up a little bit.
I agree. Well, it's like people pick on it with all the vampire things that are out right now, and kind of a throwback. The kind of originator of that was Anne Rice with a lot of her books, like Interview with the Vampire, bridging back to the '90s, things like that. And now it's just caught fire, and everything in its mother involves vampires. Again, nothing wrong with that. If you're an author and you're writing on it, enjoy your piece. But I wanted to avoid writing something that's already been written and rewritten.
Yeah, I can see where that's coming from. And like you said, you're right. I mean, vampires are kind of a timeless character, I guess, just in the sense that they can do so many different things. There's so many different takes you can actually push with them.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got distracted. Some little thing decided it was going to come up on my lap for no reason.
You'll notice my door is closed for that very reason.
What you won't notice is that there are no doors in this place. Just this window. Oh, this window. Yeah, that window, which leads to nowhere. But thinking back to one thing that I actually saw in your YouTube video was that you're a big horror fan. Like you watch horror stories all the time.
Yeah, I'm big into a lot of horror. A few of my books on my shelf are short story compilation novels of zombie stuff. I am infatuated. I pick on vampires. I will watch and read anything that's zombie affiliated. So I can't talk crap. But yes, horror stories and movies is I like a good scare.
What? Okay, here's one. What do you think is one of the scariest movies from the past and one of the scariest movies that's been released in the last, I don't know, decade?
The past, I mean, you get that, of course, but The Exorcist. That's just that I found that's a very terrifying movie to this day. That's very terrifying, and the reason why a lot of folks don't know is kind of a movie nerd, but they actually use flashes of subliminal horror pictures. Like if you ever rewatch it, you'll see a quick flash of like a face or something like that. That was one of the first movies to really do that because they wanted your subconscious was like, what was that? So The Exorcist is the classic one that I think is one of the scary ones. And as far as modern day, I think actually the Paranormal Activity movies are pretty good. I like those ones.
I watched the first one, and the first one did have me like tensed up, I think, for the last half. Just like something bad's gonna happen any moment now.
Yeah.
I didn't get into the second or third or whatever string they're on right now.
Yeah, my only complaint about them is they're very good. Is they do take a little bit of time to build up to it, and with those ones, the scary part is you have to be watching the small things happening in the background because that's when you're like, oh wait, whoa, what was that? But I think those are good. If nothing else, I enjoy a good, shock scare movie. Where you're like, oh, everything's happy and roses and
Do you have not a phobia, but one type of character, one type of thing that just like scares you, no matter what kind of movie it is? Just like, oh, that's creepy. No.
The one that I actually is one of my favorites now that throwing back to when I was a kid that gave me nightmares until my teen years was Warwick Davis's Leprechaun character. That scared me so bad as a kid and going up into my early teens, and then I sat myself down and watched because I saw like half the first one when I was like 5 or 6, and it terrified me, and then I never wanted to see him again. And then it wasn't until I think I was 13 I sat down and watched all the ones that had been out, just Face Your Fear, and that is one of my favorite chain of horror movies of the Leprechaun series. As campy and cheesy and terrible as they got, I love them.
Yeah, I'll admit that the Leprechaun, the first one, it was kind of oddly creepy for me. I think mine got superseded long ago when I first watched Poltergeist.
Oh, yeah.
Poor bastard kid looked under the bed. I knew it. Was like, you're dead. You're done.
That clown? Nope. Mm-mm.
But it did have a great moment in it in the sense that you expected that clown to be under the bed ready to get him. And for a split second, your soul kind of went, whew. And then when he just stood up, I'm like, oh.
Well, and now it's funny because like you watch the horror movies, and now a lot of them have that bathroom scene where the person's washing their face, and then they close the window, and you expect to see somebody in the mirror. They rarely do that now, but they leave you with that little, like, you're wait. Oh, okay.
There's, I'm trying to find out, the horror movie that I love to watch is zombie movies, just because you always want to have that nameless, faceless type of, like, just kill it. It's fine, just kill it. It's already dead. Just kill it some more.
Yeah.
I loved growing up watching like Dawn of the Dead and Night of the Living Dead. The Dawn of the Dead one was great just because it took place in one mall, and everybody goes to the mall, so everybody knows how malls are. And I just kept thinking to myself, like, how would I survive in my own mall?
Well, one of my part-time job that I do, again, I was telling you, was for part-time for fun. I'm a diamondologist, and I actually work in a jewelry store in a mall. And I actually, every once in a while, I'll be walking through the mall and think that, like, okay, zombie apocalypse happens now. What store am I going into first?
I think I plan most of my, which is, ultra nerdy as well. Like, where I live, I'm like, if a zombie apocalypse happened right now, where would I go? And you always look around and people will pick out buildings and like, no, too many windows. Somehow zombies always get through windows. Like, they can't operate a doorknob, but a window, just break right through that.
Well, I think it's funny that, like, I was actually reading a zombie novel that pointed it out, and people are like, oh, if I live by shore, I'm going to go to an island. It's like, well, why can't zombies get there? Oh, they can't swim. They can walk, and they don't need to breathe. So...
Now, did you ever read Max Brooks' Zombie Apocalypse series, How to Survive It, or Survival Guide, I think is what it's called?
Yes.
I actually read that and went, this all makes sense.
It did, which was weird. But, yes, I have it on my bedside table. I live my life by that book now. So, machetes and stuff are everywhere. I like it.
Yeah, after that, I'm like, if a zombie apocalypse does happen, I'm actually going to grab that book, and it's coming with us. And we're
Survival Guide, right here.
We're going to make it. But I always tell my family too, like, if you're bitten, I will kill you.
Don't worry.
I just want to always get that out like right away. I'm like, it's not that I don't love you, it's that I love you that much.
Yeah. It's a scraped knee. No, I can't risk that. I'm sorry.
It could be a bite.
Yeah.
It might be.
Oh. You saw me fall, and I also told you to clean your room a few times, so.
Now that's why we have trust issues.
Yes.
Well, now a little bit back towards writing, I guess. The series that's out right now in the same wheelhouse, which is Walking Dead. I've watched the show and I've read the series. Have you read the series for that?
Graphic novels right there. Yes, I have.
Nice.
I stuck with those mostly rather than the series for the first season or two because it was, like, oh, zombies. Oh, absolutely. I'm all over that. And for the first season or so, it was fantastic. It followed the graphic novels really well, and finally there was a once a week show that I could watch full of zombies. Unfortunately, like any of these kinds of shows, they have to find that drama factor. So then, now there's all the backstabbing in the group, and there's like one or two zombies an episode, and now you're just dealing with all the human people drama. And I'm like, I'm here to shoot zombies. I don't care who's sleeping with who. Shoot a zombie. That's all I'm here for.
Yeah. When it deviated, when I think Lori is where it started deviating, and then the baby and everything like that, and I went, well, this is going completely different. I have no idea what's going on anymore.
Well, yeah, like Shane got shot by his son. Now, Shane got shot by Carl in the graphic novels, and then, that was just weird, But, I mean, he got shot in the show, too, but the circumstance surrounding it was a lot different than what it was.
Yeah, they seem to draw it out a lot more in the show, which I guess you kind of have to do to get more people to invest in it. But as far as, like, writing goes, I thought they did a very different take on that.
Yes.
Graphic novels, just because they weren't solely focusing on zombies. It's always like the Stephen King type, like how people are around all this weirdness.
You definitely in tragedies and things of that sort, you definitely get a feel of what people are made of, which is it's just like when they say when you're drunk or scared, that's when kind of your true person can come out. I don't like that because I don't drink, but when I get scared, I scream like Chris Tucker in Rush Hour, and so we don't go on roller coasters anymore. And so I really hope that's not true because I scream like a little girl and I run really fast.
The commercials that always get me are the ones where the credit card with the goats in there now, and the goat screams. I don't know when goat screams became popular, but they really cracked me up. So now that's what I'm picturing in my head.
Oh.
So, into writing, when you first started, did you know right away that you wanted to do just indie, or did you try and get pushed out to some publishers, or are you trying to build things up?
When I first started writing as a kid, this is back in the 90s, there really weren't there weren't all these social media sites and things of that sort. So the authors back then were published authors. Their books were in bookstores. They had companies backing them. That's just how it was. In the 90s, there wasn't YouTube and Google and Facebook and all these things. So growing up, and to be honest, even until about a year or so ago, my dream was to be published by a company. But now I'm finding that indie authors, and I was actually surprised that there actually are a lot of famous indie authors, Charles Dickens, Hawthorne. It's interesting because, I have been approached by a published company within the last couple of weeks, but I'm finding that a lot of things that they can offer me, I'm already doing myself. They're like, oh, we can put you in these stores. Done that. Oh, we'll get you all these people that like you on social media. Done that. They're going to do all this work, but then they're also going to keep about 70% of the profits from it. So I'm like, no. So growing up, the goal was always to be a published author. I just never knew that I could do it myself.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it, I think, because until you start getting massively pushed out to every bookstore, they're really not doing you any good as far as I can tell yet.
Agreed.
Now if they pay all the upfront costs for X, Y, and Z, then I can kind of go, all right. But when they're trying to take 70% of your livelihood, it's kind of like it's not really worth it. I could just give it away.
By that math, I could just lower the price of my books and sell them to more people and make about the same amount of money. So what are you doing here?
Exactly. Well, now do you have anything in the works?
I do. My wife, The Curious Tale of Gabrielle is part of a series. The intention for the series is going to be minimum of 6 books, probably 7. I am actually a good chunk of the way into the second book. I am currently also revising some sections of the first book. I want to make it a little bit bigger. Right now it's about 200 pages. I like it to be a little bit bigger than that, and maybe release a secondary edition. But my 2 main works that I'm working on right now are the second book of The Curious Tale, which is The Curious Tale of Gabrielle, Vivre la Vie. Guess what time frame that takes place in? You'll find out at the end of the book. And
the suspense there for us.
I know, right? Easter egg. And the other book that I'm kind of been working on is I have a big background in law enforcement and legal studies, and I'm working on a crime horror book. In my writings, I'm all about being accurate. I don't like, for example, I was actually reading a zombie book the other day, and the person was describing the officer's gun, and they said, oh, it's a Glock 17 44 caliber combat pistol, and I'm like, Glock 17 is a 9mm, and there's no such thing as a 44 caliber pistol round. So I'm very big on accuracy. So when I'm writing things, I'm often doing a lot of research. But the crime horror one, I'm really looking forward to because it's something that, from my background, I can keep extremely accurate to the fine details.
I totally agree with you. When you pick that one thing out of a book where you go, that's impossible. It's kind of like taking that Jenga piece out where you see the tower going like that, and you're like, yep, any second now.
Yep. 1 or 2 more of those, and this thing's gonna fall hard and fast. And granted, with that, my book was not professionally edited. It was edited by my wife, a couple of friends of ours. Kate was actually one of my beta readers, and her sister, my wife's sister. So there are, even in the current issue out there, if anybody's watching this, I understand from what I hear there are 1 or 2 grammatical issues in it. There's only a couple that have been reported to me, but I know that there's 1 or 2 out there. So if you're watching this and you're reading it and you find one, I do apologize. I know they're there. You got the first release. Many books have been, that's why there are multiple editions. People find those and they fix it. Next edition comes out.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, even when you have it professionally done, my editors have told me, like, it's not 100%. You're never going to find that unless you have 6 round-the-clock editors looking at one piece of work. There's going to be things that come through, and it's part of the game. I think people, as long as it's not completely outlandish and continues to happen, I think people can kind of just overlook it anyhow. But other than that, I mean, to end on a fun note, do you have something that's kind of a what you would call it, selfish read, or a hidden read, something that you read that you don't usually tell people, like, hey, I've read this?
Oh, guilty pleasure books.
That's what it is.
As much as I do like reading, your more classic books, I am really big, and I kind of alluded earlier, into zombie books, but I'm really heavy into a lot of graphic novels. Predator, like everybody knows the old Predator movies. There actually is a really good comic series about Predator that's out. I have the Omnibus, which is a compilation of them. They're about that thick. I've got a couple of those. I've got a couple of good zombie graphic novels, and as much as I'm like, oh, I like the traditional kind of writing styles and classic reads, but I'm like, sweet comic books with gore? Awesome.
You can't go wrong with a good graphic novel. I have like a stack of them sitting right here, I think. One that I actually made my daughter read. This one right here.
I Killed Joannes. Huh.
It's actually pretty good for middle school because it has a middle school heroine in it and all that kind of stuff. But if I had to confess to one guilty pleasure book, that would be definitely it. Is that comics I think really can inspire something past superheroes, past the whole spandex tights and all the things that you'd actually go, that's ridiculous. But
Yeah.
there's an essence in there that I think everybody can attach to. I mean, even when you look at movies nowadays, all the major summer movies are superhero movies. And there's a reason for that. It's not because kids like it, it's because adults like it too. So
Absolutely. Well, and I mean, and in your defense, that's got a middle school heroine in it, and in most middle schools in the country right now, there's heroin. So
yeah, I mean, connecting the dots right there.
subliminal messaging.
Heroin. Now, teaching kids the grammatical difference.
That's for and that's what I want everybody to take home. Grammar is very important.
Is that NBC? The more you know.
Yes. Little rainbow up here.
Exactly. Well, Zach, I'm going to end with that so we don't go into one thing after another, but I hope I can have you back on here. Maybe we can go into the next book or, just spitball things about comics. I don't really care. I like it.
Absolutely. Don't threaten me with a good time.
I'll try not to. But safe to say that we've had giggles and laughs, and if anybody hasn't checked out Zachary's blog, it's actually right below his name, so go back, watch this entire video, and go there. And then pick up his book. It's on Amazon. Is it on multiple platforms, or?
Yes, it is on Amazon. Goodreads, of course, will then siphon you through it. You can actually purchase books directly from my website as well. I'm very highly plugging that one because my wife set that particular feature up on there. It took her a long time, and she's very proud of it. So if you're going to buy a book, one of these guys, do it from my website. Or else, my wife might get angry, and she scares me when she's angry. She kind of hulks out, She cooks the food, so the happier she is, the more comfortable I am taking the first bite, not throwing it to the dog and seeing what happens to him.
Couldn't be more true in every aspect of life right there. So we'll end with that. Everybody go check him out. Come over to my blog, check me out. Come back next time. We're going to have some great laughs and fun, and I will figure out YouTube eventually and this whole book. I'm probably lying there. I'm probably going to screw up the next one too, so, come watch me fail.
It was fun. I enjoyed it.
Laughs and giggles, everybody. Thanks for coming by.
Take care.